Hi, you must be Regina's grandma.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Oh, well.
All right, I'm really happy to have you here with us today. It was such a pleasure to get to work with Regina. She was really easy to talk to, and she followed all my instructions well. She told me that she thought the test was easy. In fact, she said some of the items she felt were too easy for people to have to do. Um, let's see, we talked about how much she loves languages and how she's learning Spanish right now, and she loves ASL, and she is pretty good with that, and she wants to continue, learning about it when she goes to college next year, and she's excited to be able to take some more classes in that.
Yeah, she's a pretty overachiever type girl.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I really enjoyed getting to do this assessment with her. So I understand that Regina was referred because her teacher had some concerns about her writing. So what we did is we took the Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, the third edition, together during this assessment. And that's abbreviated, it's called the Wyatt 3. So that's what I'll refer to it from now on because it's, just a little easier to say. So what that is, it's a standardized achievement test that basically it measures curriculum for core areas like reading, writing, and math, and it's normed by taking like a lot of kids throughout the country and then seeing how they do on the test, and from that we create age-based norms so that Regina can be judged, in comparison to her same age peers rather than kids that are much older than her, kids that are much younger than her. And then we convert the scores so that we can put them along a normal curve, and that's what that is right there. So you can think of the normal curve in terms of like height or weight. So like the average height for a woman in America is like 5'4", right? So that would be right here in the middle. That's the mean for the entire population. And then contained within these two lines, which is one standard deviation this way from the mean and one standard deviation this way from the mean, that's like 68% of the population, which makes sense because, most women, they're going to fall between, let's say 3 inches is the standard deviation for height. They're going to fall between like 5'1" and 5'7". There aren't many people that are taller or shorter than that. And then as you get further out away from the mean, the population that's in these sections is going to be significantly less. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. So now I just want to talk a little bit about Regina's performance on the Wyatt. So as I already told you, the Wyatt involves, like reading, writing, math activities, kind of similar to some stuff that she'd be doing in school, but not exactly because it's a standardized test. So let's just get right into it. So we talked a little bit about standard scores and how those are going to fall on this curve. So the mean standard score is 100, and then a standard deviation from there would be 15. So when I talk about the average range, it's going to be between the scores of 85 and 115, right in this section on the normal curve. So let's see. First, we'll talk about Regina's reading. So her total reading score was 121, which is going to fall in the, oh yeah, that's our office therapy cat.
Hi, office therapy cat.
We don't need you right now, office therapy cat. So yeah, you can move along. Oh, his name is Alistair. He's here for, the kids with depression. He really helps them. They have some time with him during the day. Okay, so like I was saying, Regina's total reading score, which is a composite score that involves a couple different subtests, was 121. So that's going to fall here in the above average range. She did really well on that. And the main reason for that was because she had a really great performance in the subtest called reading comprehension. So she had a 128, so that falls, almost in the well above average range right there. So for the subtest of reading comprehension, basically what she did is we read some passages that were, oh, I see he really likes you. That's great. We read some passages that were like advertisements, informational, fictional, stuff like that. And then I asked her comprehension questions about them that were either literal questions or inferential questions where she kind of had to figure it out. It wasn't explicitly stated in the passages. And she did really well on that. She fell in the 97th percentile, which means she performed better than 97% of kids in the sample for when they standardized the test.
That's what reading Dr. Seuss will do to a child. I'm telling you, when you have kids, reading Dr. Seuss.
All right, I will be sure to keep that in mind. And let's see. Then her basic reading score fell in the average range. She got a 115, which is, right on the line there. So almost in the above average range. And what goes into the composite score of basic reading is pseudo word decoding and word reading. So pseudo word decoding is we gave her some fake words that she had to read as if they were real words, and she was able to do that pretty well. She got a 114, so that's in the high end of the average range. She did have a couple of issues with insertions on that subtest. She would put in letters that weren't in the words. Like there was a fake word that was teletry and she read trelatry. She just inserted an R in there. But it wasn't a big issue because, her performance still falls within the average range. And then there was also word reading, which is real words, not fake words that you have to read, similar to when you're doing the pseudo word decoding. And she got the same score on that, a 114, so right there near the line in the average range. And she also had some issues with some insertions in there, like one of the words was vitiate and she read vitriate. So putting an R in there again, working harder than she needed to. And then let's see, her reading comprehension and fluency score, which included the subtest of reading comprehension, which we already talked about, and oral reading fluency. So she performed in the above average range for that composite score. She got a 121, so that falls, right in the middle there. And for oral reading fluency, the subtest that goes along with reading comprehension, in that she got a 108, which is right there in the average range. And what oral reading fluency is basically I just had her read some passages and they were timed, and then she had to answer one comprehension question. She got both the comprehension questions correct. And she did pretty well on that section. She actually asked me if she could wrap the sections instead of reading them. But I didn't think that the standardization of the test would quite allow for that, so I let her wrap them for me afterwards, but not during the actual times portion of the test. All right, so that's basically her reading. She was average or above average in every subtest, every composite score, all of that, so she's right where she needs to be or better. And then let's see, as far as her math performance, her math composite score fell in the average range. It was 112, so right near the upper end of the average range. And that is composed of two subtests. The first is math problem solving. In math problem solving, I would read her math questions and then she would answer them. And she got scrap paper and a pencil in order to answer those, but she refused to use it. She said that it's better to do math problems inside your head. So she might have actually done a little better had she used the paper, but that's just not what she wanted to do. And She got a 109 on that subtest, so that still falls in the average range on the upper end. And then we did another subtest in that section called numerical operations, and she got a 113 on that, which once again in the high end of the average range. And that's more just like some basic math problems, but it goes all the way up through like algebra, geometry, calculus. She's in, 12th grade, so she did some pretty advanced stuff. And I actually have her responses if you want to look at them. She did a few pages of them. So, multiplication, simple addition, subtraction, no problem. She did really well with the division problems. She did pretty great with algebra. She had some issues with geometry, and some of the problems she just said, I don't know how to do that. I want to do the next one. So I said, oh, okay, all right.
I don't even think I can do this.
I don't know if I could do it honestly either. Math is just not my favorite. But anyway, she performed in the high average range on that. And let's see, her writing, which was the reason why she was referred by her teacher. So for the composite score of written expression, she performed in the above average range. She got a score of 119, so right around there. And the three subtests that compose that section are spelling, sentence composition, and essay composition. So with spelling, she did really well on the spelling portion. She only missed like 2 words, and the one word was oxidize, and she just inserted a Y right before the I in that word. And then so insertions, once again, getting her down. But she got a 129 on that, so almost in the well above average range. She performed really well on that subtest. And that I would say a word, and then I would use it in a sentence and say it again, and she would have to write it down. And then, all right, sentence composition. This one, this was a relative weakness for her, but she still performed in the average range. She got a 103, so right close to the mean there. And sentence composition had 2 parts. So basically for the first part, she was given 2 sentences, and she was told that she had to combine them. And then for the second part, she was given a target word that she had to use within the context of a sentence. And I actually, there's my book. I have her samples of that with me here for you to look at them once I flip to the page. All right, so that's that first section that we talked about, the sentence combining.
Mm-hmm.
So she struggled a little bit with the sentence structure component on these. She had poor sentence structure in a few of them. But for the most part, it's pretty good still, in the average range. I think maybe she didn't understand some of the directions on a few of them possibly, and just like some details got lost. And then this was her sentence building, where she took the target word and put it in a sentence. So does this look pretty comparable to like the sentences that she writes at home when you see her do homework? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it seems very sarcastic in tone, which is pretty much
She wrote a few sentences about how much she hated the test, which that was amusing.
Her personality always shines through.
Yeah, that's for sure. I definitely got that in my time working with her. And then the final component of the writing was essay composition, and she got a score of 111 on that. So once again, right there in the average range on the higher end. And what she had to do for that one is she was given a prompt and a 10-minute time limit, and she had to write about her favorite game and 3 reasons why she liked that game. And she wrote about chess, how much she loves chess, and she she struggled a little bit with getting all of the reasons in there and then elaborating on the reasons. That was the main thing that she lost points for in that portion of the test. She wrote about how all her friends need dunce hats because none of them can beat her at chess. And I, before grading this essay, did not know what a dunce hat is. So she taught me something. All right. Let's see. That covers her her composite scores and all of her subtest scores. And you looked at those examples, and they seem pretty comparable to what she did at home, right? Okay, great. So, did you have any questions for me?
So based on these results, should she go to med school? That's kind of what she's aiming for.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, the Wyatt is an achievement test with like writing, reading, math, core curriculum type of things. And the performance on the test tells us something about the child's ability for these different areas, but it can't predict something as direct as whether or not she'll go to med school. That's up to how she does in college, what her goals are at that time. I can tell you that she's a bright kid and she's got a lot of potential and she seems really driven. So I think if that's where she wants to go, sure, she can get there, but not based on the results of this test.
Oh, okay.
Not that she did, she did well, but doesn't really predict something as directly as that.
So since she did a little worse in certain areas, do you think she'll need tutoring? That one area she's further down lower by the mean.
Oh, you mean the math section?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, on every single subtest and composite, she performed within the average range. So that means she's right on par there with her peers, and she should, be able to get some understanding of the material. Her baseline ability will help her to grasp the concepts that she's being taught in class. If you feel that she needs a tutor because you want to bring those relative, and I say relative because she didn't really have any weaknesses by the norm, as you saw here, she was average to above average in everything. But if you want her abilities to become more even, then by all means. But she certainly, from the results of these tests, I wouldn't say that she needs a tutor specifically in any area.
It's just interesting because when I ask her to do homework, she always refuses. So you're telling me that she has the ability to do all this work if she wanted to. So, like, what do you recommend with that?
Well, ability tells nothing about motivation, and I don't like to do homework. I'm sure you didn't like to do homework when you were in school. Everyone tries to avoid their homework if they can, right? I mean, if the reason she's not doing her homework is that she's struggling specifically with some like particular concepts, like, maybe there's some trigonometry or geometry on her homework, which we saw that she has a little bit of an issue with on the math. She might want or benefit from, like a peer tutor in that area, or maybe tell her, that she can study with her friends. She certainly seems like a really social child. She told me about all the better things that she could be doing while she was taking the test with me because of all her friends that she has. So I would recommend something like that. I don't think that, that's anything terrible that high school senior has senioritis.
Yeah, that's true. So you're saying that Regina performed in the.
Now we're flipping over to the teacher. The teacher's over there. Okay. You're the teacher now.
What did you need to do something else?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry that it wasn't clear, but just keep going. Just roll with it.
So you were saying that Regina performed in the average range of writing skills. This makes no sense because she can't produce well-written writing. I'm so sorry.
That's right. I understand the therapy cat's here. It's just that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's just One written writing piece. This class has no relation to the core content in our expectations.
Okay, so we talked earlier a little bit about what standardized tests are and how they're taking pieces of curriculum from all over the country. So the aim is to get kind of, like what the average curriculum would be for reading, writing, and math. And when you're trying to get like a good picture of the general or the average, it's not going to match perfectly with everyone's specific curriculum and expectations. So if there's something in particular that you feel that she's struggling on, maybe we could get her, like a targeted intervention in that area if you feel that like maybe it's her sentence structure or some other aspect of her writing, or you just have higher expectations for her because you know that she's a, bright, overachieving student, then maybe just talk with her about her performance.
Okay.
All right. Well, I hope that answers all of your questions.
It does.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
No problem.